Welcome to Deges and Dragons.
I thought this was going to be hard.
Welcome to Deges and Dragons.
Who wants some of the Ripper?
They're state champs, baby. Woo!
Smoke heroes!
He's completely Catholic. I'm a man of the people.
Shattered world.
Ripper knows! Ripper always knows!
And welcome to another episode of the Degecast, the supplemental podcast for our YouTube show, Deges and Dragons, the show that highlights the therapeutic aspects of role-playing games. I'm your host, Nate Lindberg, and you can find me on Twitter at Nate Lindberg, and you can follow our brand on Facebook, Twitter, and most importantly, YouTube at Degetime. Now, season 1 of Deges and Dragons is winding down and coming to a close. For the last 2 weeks, we've been catching up and checking in with some of the developers of the season 1 games that we've played. Seeing as we just wrapped up the Project by a Modus gameplay yesterday, maybe that's the creator we check in on next, perhaps, eh? Our interview with Bear may have only aired just a few weeks ago, but that conversation took place well over 6 months back. With me today is the man, the myth, the legend himself to check in and let us know what exciting things he's got in the works and to flap our gums about whatever else we talk about. Bear Winters, and since we are recording this the day after Christmas, Bear, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, or bah humbug. Welcome to the show.
No, thank you very much. Merry Christmas. It's good to hear from you guys for sure.
Yeah.
Now, if you'd like to turn to page 1 of my manifesto on transhumanism, we can get started. No.
And,
thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
No, I'm glad to have you here. Glad to have you here, man. And also with me today is our Degetime co-creator, our resident psychology expert, and our resident GM, Conrad Nate.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays as well from me.
So no, Bear, like I said, nothing super planned here. Actually, I got nothing planned here. I just thought it'd be kind of cool to like check in with the developers, see what's going on in their lives, what's going on in any of the projects, anything that they're kind of working on right now, and basically just say hi. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a good Christmas. Geez, what's going on? So last week I moved to Texas from California. That was an event.
I'm sure. Did you drive?
Yeah. So, I had to do it in 2 parts. So, I drove down with some of my stuff. I had movers bring the rest of my stuff, and then I had to. After I arrived, I had to fly back to California, pick up my cat, and then fly back with him the next day. So,
oh man,
because he freaks out on the journey, so I wanted to make it as quick as possible, and I ended up freaking out more than he did. So.
I think we always do with our animals and pets and stuff.
Yes. My little fur baby.
Yeah.
He's been a noisy bugger as well, so I apologize if you hear him knocking stuff over or me giving him a stern look.
Yeah, it's quite all right. So, but no, glad to hear that the move went well and smoothly and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. But book front, we finally got Project Biomodals published last year.
Yes.
And I got sent out to the backers, and we've seen I've seen some more people purchasing it on the store, which has been absolutely crazy to me. I have no idea why people enjoy the game, but they do, and I'll take it. It is. I like to think so. It's like I send my child off to school, and then if the teacher's coming back and saying, "Hey, your kid's actually pretty smart," and that makes me proud.
Yes.
Like I'm terrified that they're going to come back and say, "Your kid needs help because he's a psychopath." But no, like it's been nuts. Like, and I've got a really good community over on the Discord. You guys are part of the Discord as well.
Yes.
They've been watching the video series. At the time of this recording, there are still 2 episodes to go. So I've had a few people message me like excited, and they've been watching it.
That's awesome.
But as far as like next steps, I am actually planning on doing. I'm calling it Biomodus Rebuilt. So I'm going to be adding a couple of new factions. I'm going to be adding a bunch of new forge skills, modifications, configurations, some more background lore. I'm going to detail the surviving huntsman, like the big bad wandering silver guys. Like the guy on the front of the special edition. Yeah, like I'm actually thinking of I'm trying to work on a way to make combat a little less complex while keeping it still very personal. And it's coming down to damage and armor right now. Because right now it's like you got 2 armor pools, 2 damage pools. You have to calculate one against the other, and then you got 2 different types of damage that you can take, and it's a little clunky. It's a little, on paper it looked really good, and in playtest it kind of came out well when I was running it, because I could do most of the math work. And then as other people have started running it, I've noticed it's kind of clunky for them. So I'm going to try and redo the damage system a bit, and put it in that book and have it as an optional damage system for people to use.
Cool. No, I like that, because like not that I think there was anything wrong with the damage system, but I know like at least for me, where some of the more crunchy games like this, sometimes that can throw me off anyway. So I certainly appreciate kind of like a revamp or more simplified combat system.
Yes, that's the idea.
Yeah, but still kind of keeping the same complexity in a way, like so you can kind of still at least still do the same things, kind of make things a little bit easier and keep the story progressing.
Well, the design intent was always that character creation was always meant to be kind of crunchy, not like Shadowrun crunchy, but like crunchy enough so you can do a lot of personalization and customization to not only your character but your equipment. And then when it comes to the end, like the numbers you have written on your sheet are very easy to reference. So this is my attack value of this weapon versus this defense value of this enemy. Roll them. And then so the attacks are fairly easy to finish and to resolve. But damage is still a little clunky, and I don't like it. It's bugging me. And I have the power to change it, so...
As you do.
Yes.
It's incredibly difficult to represent anime level action. Is it meaningful to swing a sword the size of a bus if all you're doing is like, I roll a 1d6 against like 5 HP. Like it doesn't feel like you're swinging a sword that size, So like having this armor, and the same with like taking hits, you're like, I'm this awesome mech. Like, yeah, I'm going to shred or shed, this damage, reflect this damage. And I automatically regenerate that at the end of combat because I'm great. And yeah, so it's tough to like find that middle ground where like you feel that like real power, but if it's too simple, then it's like, was I really that strong?
Well, I think a lot of that comes from giving the narrator less to think about as far as numbers go, because all the rolling apart from damage is done by the players. All of their defensive stuff is rolled. The only thing the narrator has to roll is damage, and that gives you some way of fudging it if you need to. Because I think it's important to have that fudge mechanic. Like some people are kind of die hard where it's like, no, the dice must dictate everything, and I don't think that really that closes off a couple of avenues for fun, or like something cinematic, But since the narrator's primary focus is to describe things, and I think it helps when the narrator doesn't have to worry about, oh my God, this enemy is using this rule, and that's going to affect these numbers, and when it's all just pretty black and white on a sheet for them, they don't really have to worry about that. Well, that was the intent anyway. Maybe they still do anyway. I can't speak for everybody who's going to narrate the game, but it's the narrator's job to make it seem larger than life. Like, you swing your sword down, it impacts with them, and the ground cracks beneath their feet, sends this shockwave of dust up. Boom! And this has a weird side effect. And that's why I didn't want to go too hard or too good for like rolling like natural 20s or natural 1s. it's more of a descriptive. It's a narrative effect rather than a systematic. You do double damage or you do no damage. Like you miss and you swing and you hit the floor, but the floor encaves and then the party drops down, and now you have to like fight them in midair, or you swing at people behind cover, and then there's a bonus. You just trash the cover they're hiding behind, so now all of your buddies like have better shots at them. Like having narrative choices like that, I think helps make it anime-ish, or at least it tries. That was my intent when doing it that way. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just a big nerd for the anime stuff anyway. I just love big explosions and just play Metal Gear Rising. Play Metal Gear Rising. That's so yeah. Grab a Metal Gear and throw him. Like that's Project Biomodes in a nutshell. It's nanomachines and big mechs getting thrown about.
Having swords come out of your feet.
Yeah, absolutely. For real.
Absolutely.
Do it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, is there any? Do you have any other projects you might be working on that aren't necessarily relating to Project Biomotus, or is that kind of like, obviously I know you were in the midst of a move, so I'm sure that took up a lot of time as well.
It did, and a lot of anxiety kind of went into that because it's a big change for me.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Going to a new state. I've only ever lived in California since I've been in the States, and it's a new place, new area. Moving in itself is a big change. So yeah, I haven't really had a lot of focus. However, it's funny because Zip said to you guys that he wanted to see me do a graphic novel.
Ooh.
And I am actually in the planning stages of writing one.
All right.
And I have been for a while. I kind of put it on the back burner for a bit, but it's essentially a graphic novel that depicts in a very sort of like a gothic fantasy my struggle with mental health and recovery.
Okay.
And it's more of a cathartic me thing.
Sure.
But it's going to be this very oddly enough, it's almost Biomodus-y themed, but it's more Vampire Hunter D.
Okay.
Kind of theme. But it's going to be pretty dark, and it's probably not going to be very long, but it's going to be very yeah, I think so, because it's going to be it's going to talk a lot about how the struggle can be converted into battles with unseeable, unknowable monsters, and then the struggle of trying to fit in with people that don't feel the same way as you, that have struggles, that or they have support structures, or the mental capacity to not become overwhelmed with depression, and how you kind of feel like an outsider and an alien sometimes while being around people like that. And that was very true for my struggle. I felt like a monster in a mask a lot of the time. And it was hard to empathize, and it was hard to find people who could empathize with those struggles. And that is not always true. That's sometimes a lie that your brain tells you to try and help you disconnect from it and to disassociate from those issues. And I think it's important to talk about. And
I agree.
And I it may not be. It's not. You can talk about it with words, but I think visuals kind of give a much better indication of experience than simple talking about it or trying to describe it. Because like when you describe struggles with mental health to other people, you're using your words and you're relying on their brain to try and create the picture. Right. I think by illustrating it, it gives a more sense of the personal impact to you as a person. So and I thought a graphic novel might be a good way of doing that. with a very very sort of sci-fi gothic fantasy theme. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
No, and I think you did a pretty good job explaining it, and it's I mean, especially in kind of with the nature of what we do here, you know, at Deges and Dragons, Degecast, and all that. I really like the kind of the theme of that, and the fact that you're doing it as almost as a therapeutic release for yourself in a way, but you know, it also to kind of help other people through their struggles. That's cool. A lot of respect there, and not to mention, I can't wait to actually see the artwork.
Well, we'll see how that goes. Like drawing illustrations for characters and stuff is very different than drawing for a graphic novel, because you have to maintain character and you have to maintain like a unity of design. And I'm very good at just coming up with stuff on the fly and saying, this is a character piece. But then trying to replicate that, doing like from a different angle or a different posture, I suck at that. I'm also suck at symmetry and details and the like. I get overwhelmed with the details and not enough about the scene. Also, I'm not a very good environmental artist, so it's gonna be this whole process is gonna be outside of my comfort zone a lot. So it will take time, but that is something that I am actively pushing towards getting done, because for me it's important. Like, I don't know if it will help anybody else. If it does, that'd be amazing. Just like the book, really. I'm doing it for me, for my catharsis. And if that happens to help people along the way, then absolutely, that's fantastic. Like, couldn't hope for any better.
No, 100%, 100%.
There's an artist, and the name escapes me, who I think it's fairly famous set of works at this point, but who basically manifested what like each mental illness would look like in the form of a monster.
Yes.
And it's like a series of like singular monsters that are like related to what the mental illness is. And like looking at them, they were an excellent reflection, I think. So to put all of that, it's a lot of material, like trying to bag it and then put it into like a manifested creature, I think is great. And I think that it's not exactly the same for two people, you know, like we have in like the DSM, you know, set criteria, but you meet different criteria and still get to the same diagnosis, you know. There's
for sure.
Yeah.
And so even just between two different people, like what that monster looks like, or if it even is a monster, you know, like however you define it, would look different for people. And so like to see like you giving it form, I think speaks a lot to your experience with it, and then people can relate to it and they can see like how it's different as well. And I think that that's all just very cool. And I also look forward to seeing it.
Well, it might take some time, so don't hold your breath. And again, it's a new skill set for me. So I'm being ambitious. Will it work out? I don't know. I would like it to.
Yeah.
But, I do have a design for the main character. I'll have to send you guys. Yeah, I don't know. It's something that's been on my heart to do, and I want to do it. I don't know if I have the capability to.
You do.
I'm sure you do.
Oh, I'm sure if I solidly put my head down and did nothing but that, without concentrating on work or living, or the other cavalcade of real life concerns that I have to deal with.
And none of that matters.
Oh God, I wish none of that mattered.
Right?
I've met very few tabletop designers who do that as their primary role, and I am so envious of the people that can do this as their primary role. And I'm envious, and I'm proud, and I'm pleased for them, because it's a dream. It's a dream job to be able to. If I could, I would create worlds all day. And those guys rock it, you know, like the Rich Thomases of the world. The guy that runs Onyx Path, phenomenal guy, absolutely phenomenal guy. Charges some amazing works. Works very closely with the Badana Group. He's on their board.
Okay.
Yeah, just it's crazy. That's what I aspire to be. I aspire to be a full-time tabletop game developer. And so go out there and buy my book, please. Anybody who's reading this, because I'd really like to do this as my full-time. No, just enjoy. I'm as much as I would love to do that, I'm not very good at marketing myself.
Yeah.
Which is but that's why I do it for me. Well, no, and I appreciate that. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate you guys so much. Like so much. But yeah, like I never got into this business to become, you know, financially independent or to be, you know.
You did it for the love of it.
You know, I did it for me. It was cathartic.
Yeah.
It was something I needed to do to get through a particularly tough period in my life, and
yeah,
here I am. And
no, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I'm glad it all worked out. I'm glad we ended up getting Project Biomotus out of it. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing this graphic novel when it comes to completion. If it doesn't, hey, we won't hold you against it. I can't tell you how many projects I've started and never finished. But if it does, I'm looking forward to it.
The weight of expectation.
But no, Bear, we certainly appreciate you sitting down a little bit with us today. You kind of just talk, shoot the shit, and, you know, catch up. Appreciate it.
I'm honored to be here. Like, always happy to come and speak to you guys. You guys have been fantastic. I'm, again, honored you guys played the game in the first place. And thank you very much for becoming part of the Project Biomotus family. That's all I can.
We're just one big happy family.
Yeah, we try to be. Biomechanical monsters hanging out for Christmas. How about that?
Here we go. Absolutely.